Hey guys, welcome back to the channel Everyday Carry for the Everyday Guy. So today we are going to be talking about the Sightmark Mini Shot M-Spec. So before we go further, let me get some admin out of the way. This firearm is empty and safe. There are no live rounds in the vicinity. I am going to be manipulating this firearm quite a bit, so don't stress about that. The camera's on a tripod. Everything is safe. There are no people around. I'm alone in my place and we are in an enclosed studio type deal. I also want to say massive thanks to Juan for making this possible. He sent me this to review. I really appreciate it. I quite like it. And then I want to say thank you to Aziza at CHS Guns who put me in contact and who kind of started all this, and also the guys at City Guns for letting me use their range. So the way I'm going to review this is I'm going to talk about the construction of this particular sight. We're going to have a closer look at it, and I'm talking to you about some advantages and disadvantages of red dots, what life is like with it. And then I'm going to give a conclusion at the end. I will leave times to everything over here so you can fast forward to that or rewind to a particular thing if you want to. This video might be quite long, so let's cut the chat and get into it. Okay guys, so what we've got here is the Sightmark Mini Shot M-Spec. First thing, and straight off the bat, what I like about this guy is it's got a large window. And what that allows for is quite a lot of dot movement. I don't know how better to describe that, so I'll throw in some B-roll. So you can quite easily see your dot if you are off to the left, to the right, up or down. What I also like about it is we've got an aluminium housing. So the housing of the dot and the glass and everything is encased in aluminium. And then that aluminium is encased in steel. So this piece that I'm touching here, that's actually steel, right? So you've got a hard and a soft metal, which is good for shock absorption. It is waterproof down to 1 meter, dust and fog proof as well. We've got a 3 MOA dot on this guy, which I quite like. I like a smaller dot over a bigger dot because you can always up that intensity and get it to be a bit bigger, especially when it's darker. You can't take like a 6 MOA dot and make it look like a 3 MOA. Your intensity level, you've got 10 intensity levels. It's lowered on that side and raised on that side. What I do like about that is you can kind of manipulate it through your cover garment. If you walk into a dark environment and you want to drop the intensity, you just tap that a few times and you're good to go. I generally for daytime have it at full intensity, and then at nighttime I'll have it at around say 7 or 8. It's got like a 12-hour cutoff time where after 12 hours it'll shut off. I haven't experienced that though, simply because in the morning when I wake up I press it and adjust it, and that's kind of resets that 12-hour cutoff. So for me, this has never been off. I've knocked this about, I've racked off that, I've done pretty much everything you can to abuse this guy, and it's held up pretty well. To make your sight adjustments, you've got windage over there and you've got elevation over there. The dot does come with a little Allen wrench type tool that you can make those adjustments with, and then your battery you replace right there, which I like because when the battery dies, you don't take the whole sight off, you can just take it out, put a new one in. The battery on this guy lasts for between 30 and 50,000 hours. Now 50,000 hours, you're looking at around 5 years. Okay, so replace the battery every year, year and a half, and you should be good to go. Thus far, this thing has pretty much stood up to everything I can chuck at it and held zero really well. I will put in B-roll of me shooting yesterday, and I've not experienced any issues at all. I'm really impressed with the construction. Now this is sitting on a sort of dovetail mount that slides into the groove vacated by my Glock's rear sight. So I, at this juncture, would want to get a heightened front sight, but Sightmark haven't given this to me, so they've borrowed this to me to review. So if I want some, I have to buy it like everybody else. There again, absolutely no bias towards Sightmark because, like I said, this isn't even mine. What I do like about what they've done is they've kind of said, listen, test this, destroy it, mess about with it, and if it fails, you can review it anyway. I appreciate that. Thus far, I've had absolutely no failures. It hasn't lost its zero, and as I say, I'm kind of impressed. The glass itself, I don't know how to measure how thick this glass is, but when I touch it with my fingertips, right, it feels like about that thick. So that thick, it feels solid, like it doesn't feel like it's going to break. And what's also really cool is this housing comes forward of the glass. So if you are using a door frame or the base of a shelf to rack this off, the glass never comes in contact with that door frame. So it is protected by not only the aluminium housing, but the steel housing as well. Okay guys, so let's talk about some advantages and disadvantages of red dots. Let's start off with disadvantages. And crazily, this is going to be one of them. Practice. If you get a red dot, you're going to have to put in a lot of practice to find that dot every single time you present. I'm not talking about a situation where you go to a range day or a shooting fun day and they give you a red dot and you play with it for like half an hour, 45 minutes, 2-3 hours, and you can't find it and you're like, oh, red dots are terrible. No, you're going to have to put in like days and days. I would say about 250 practice draws and presentations for you to find that dot every single time. But once you do that, you will notice you'll get that dot just as often as you can get your front sight perfectly lined, equal height, equal light. It is possible, it just requires more practice, more PT. You're going to have to put in more hours. Secondly, it is a electronically mechanicalized situation. I don't even know if that's a proper phrase. So you've got battery power and you've got a mechanical tool here. So you have to adjust your EDC methodology to cater for that. For example, if your dot is one of those that has a timer, tap it every morning and every evening as I do, and your timer will never be activated, or it will never reach its timeout level where it switches off by itself to preserve the battery, and you are good to go. If you're someone who can't do that or refuse to do that, then guys, then a dot isn't for you. Remember, a red dot is not for everybody. There are some people who are not going to successfully run a red dot simply because they are sort of ingrained in the way they've carried their firearm for the last however long years, and they can't change. There's nothing wrong with that. It's 100% fine, perfect. Then a red dot simply is not the option for you. Then you're going to stick to your irons. But if you are going to invest in one of these, understand it comes with a bit more PT. Holsters, you're going to have to get a holster that can cater for a red dot. Not all holsters straight out of the factory or straight out of the box cater for red dots. You're going to have to specify that this has a red dot because this area over here is sort of bigger and bulkier, and if you've got a full sweat guard, it may knock up against there. So you are going to have to get yourself a holster that works with a red dot. And then just cost. So to get this setup ideal for myself, I would get height and front sights. I would have my slide milled, have this dropped into the slide, and have suppressor height rear sights as well. As I said, Sightmark haven't given this to me. I would love if they could let me have it for a few more months so I could have that work done and do a full comprehensive test. This is just a first impressions review. I've put about a few hundred rounds through this so far. I had it for I'd say like just under a month. EDC'd it every single day, not treated it respectfully. I've treated this more harsh than I would treat it if I wasn't reviewing it, if that's a good way to describe it. I've racked it off unnecessary things. I've racked it off my belt and a desk and a door where I wouldn't ordinarily do that, but I'm testing, so it is what it is. So if you are looking to get yourself one of these, understand it comes with, I wouldn't say limitations, but it comes with requirements. Okay, for example, the battery. You are going to have to replace that battery every once in a while. I would say replace it every year. Maybe do it on your birthday or whatever the case may be. Do it on the anniversary of you getting your firearm. That way you know you've got 4 years grace period if you leave it on all the time. Those kind of things are things you have to do. You're going to have to put in, like I said, that extra practice, because the first time you do it, you're not going to find that dot. The second time, you're probably not going to find it. And so on, until eventually you see you build up the muscle memory required to find that dot. A lot of people advocate fishing. Okay, what I mean by this, you present the firearm with the muzzle in an upward facing configuration, and as you present, the dot will sort of drop down from the top of the sight, and that way you can sort of see it come down, and that will help. That's one way of doing things. I prefer a flat presentation as I would with my irons, because then that dot just appears sort of midway through. Once you lose sight of the iron, the dot just appears. So that's how I do it. But like I say, these things do come with a added level of responsibility. You're carrying a red dot, so you have to understand it comes with that extra level of requirement. It is an addition to your firearm, similarly like a light is an addition to your firearm. All these things have different things. You've got to charge your light, you know, you've got to charge or replace the battery on your red dot. I wouldn't say you have to treat your firearm with a bit more care. I've not treated this with any care. I've treated it exactly as I would had it not had this red dot on, and this particular red dot, the Sightmark, has held up perfectly. So guys, also a disadvantage is, remember, this thing can fail. You have to be prepared for that. This particular one, the Sightmark, seems extremely robust and hasn't failed at all in any way, shape or form. But red dots have failed. Trigicon red dots have failed. I've seen videos about them failing. So that is the reality. This seems to be created with sort of taking all the good parts of current popular sights and none of the bad parts, which I quite like. If a red dot fails, you need to have a backup plan, and that is why, like I said, you need to go into this with your eyes open. On the advantage side of things, firstly, not such a big deal to me, but shooting targets at distance is much easier because you've got what's called an open sight picture, okay? That sight picture is a big window, so you see your entire target, especially if it's at distance. When shooting with your irons, a lot of your target is obscured by the rear sight, the front sight, and obviously the back of your firearm. And because, you know, your firearm is closer to your eyes than what your target is, and, you know, height and distance, you're going to lose a lot of that target. With a red dot, especially with a nice small 3 MOA, you can put that dot on that target and still see the full silhouette. So shooting at distance, much easier. Shooting in low light, game changer. This thing at night, it shines brilliantly. Tap the intensity down a few if you want to, but you don't absolutely have to. But if that's something you want to do, it's something I do, you definitely can do that. So you've got that adjustability. Tracking moving targets, I find tracking moving targets with this to be a breeze. Moving the firearm left to right, sweeping it left to right, and having the dot stay in the window is really easy. Once you've got that dot, it's kind of hard to lose it. You've got to do like some really crazy stuff to lose that dot once you've got it. So your ability to track targets laterally is definitely improved with a red dot. As I said, that open sight picture allows you to sort of see your environment more clearly and more openly. You're not blocking 50% of a field of vision with the rear of your firearm and the front of your firearm. You're sort of seeing way more through this window. And then the biggest advantage, and this is the game changer, this is why I will stick with this thing if I have the opportunity to keep it, is your ability to threat focus. Now, what threat focusing is, I'm going to put in some B-roll. What you'll see here is the standard way of shooting. You've got your iron sight and sharp focus, your rear sight blurred out, and the target blurred out. Obviously, I don't have a rear sight, so just the rear of the firearm blurred out. That's kind of how we are taught to shoot. It's worked forever, and I'm not knocking that. It's perfectly fine. But what you're asking your eyes to do is to unfocus or take focus off the target that's about to kill you, or pretty much about to kill your loved one or an innocent, and focus on that front sight. Now, that takes a lot of training and a lot of mental abilities, something that most of us might not have. I know from myself personally, I'm a very average guy and I'm the everyday guy. And I question my ability to do that. I've been hijacked, and I can tell you, in my sort of short-term memory of that, I threat focused like crazy. I couldn't take my eyes off the people who were hijacking me. So for someone to tell me to take my eyes off that person, not take my eyes off there, but unfocus from them and focus on my front side, I'm very concerned about my ability to do that. Now, obviously, this is given that you have time and the target is at a bit of a distance, so you still have time to present it in not sort of close retention shooting. With a red dot, as you can see now, you can focus in on the target. And if you bring your firearm up and you present it correctly, the dot will appear while you are focused on your target. You can what's called threat focus. So that means I can look directly at the target all the time and my dot will be there. I can track the target and my dot stays there. That is the biggest deal, because my mind and evolution says when something's about to kill you, focus on that. And you'll even get sort of tunnel vision, you know, to a point where it'll block out everything else but that particular object, person, or enemy. So to ask your brain to overpower that millennia of evolution and say, listen, focus on this very small white or green or red dot on your iron sight in front. It's possible. Obviously, there are guys who can do it, well-trained guys, but I question my ability to do that. And remember, guys, everything in all my videos is an opinion, nothing is a recommendation. But for me personally, I see this as such a valid tool for self-defense that given the opportunity, I would definitely rock this guy. Those are my advantages and disadvantages. There are obviously plenty more. If I've forgotten something, chuck it in 100%. I don't mind. I like to learn new things. If I've forgotten a disadvantage, put it down there as well. If you've had an experience, with this particular sight, the Sightmark Minishot M-Spec FMS, let me know. I like to learn new things, and it'll hopefully make it into a future review. Like I say, I really, really want Sightmark to let me hang on to this for a while so I can do a follow-up review. So let's talk about conclusions. So guys, I was at the range earlier on, and this is sort of where we are. Forget these three, they kind of got away from me. This is my first shot over here, and this is my last shot, sorry, over here. So it held its focus, and we've got a pretty much a good grouping, and you can sort of see from the footage. Again, I wasn't babying this thing, I was treating it with absolutely no respect. So thus far it's held up pretty well. I've been to the range a few times, put a few hundred rounds, I think like 250 rounds maybe through it, and so far this guy is held up perfectly. As I say, I would like to continue. To conclude, I would say I've treated this a lot more harshly than the regular EDC is going to treat it. I have not cleaned this with the proper cleaning cloth. I would either use a piece of my t-shirt or my shirt or my handkerchief and just wipe it when I feel like it. I've not had a reason to clean it. I just do it because that's just part of my EDC after I dry fire. Part of my EDC mentality or methodology. Give it a wipe, what harm can it do? I've been very impressed with it. The construction is solid, as you saw. I don't treat this thing respectfully. It's held zero without any issues. The battery's not died. I've not had any problems. I haven't had to adjust the way I live my life. I have had to put in a lot more practice with this guy to get that dot to appear every single time I present. That is another reality of it. That's another part of the conclusion. If you get this, it's going to cost you some money. Here in South Africa, it's around 5,500 rand. I don't know what it translates into dollars, like $300, give or take. For a Trigicon RMR, you're looking at around 12,000 bucks. So there's a big difference in price. And at this point, I don't own a Trigicon RMR, so I can't say what the differences are, but this has done everything it says it should do on the box. Sightmark are on their way to South Africa. I believe City Guns are going to stock them. CHS Guns are going to stock them. Northrank Retail are going to provide them. So they will be here. Those are some reputable gun stores. So for them to get in on it, it's got to be a reputable product. Sightmark are not new on the market. They're just new in South Africa. It's a brand out of Texas, and Texas is gun country. That's not a place where you want to be messing around. Thus far on this particular model, I have to be honest, it's done everything I've asked of it and kept on going. I can't complain. There's nothing about it that occurs that I don't want to occur or that it says it's not going to do. So the Sightmark Minishot M-Spec FMS, at this point, I'm still impressed. I would like to continue testing. Remember, this is only an opinion and a first impressions review after a few hundred rounds in just under a month. If you're willing to put in the time and the money and the effort to learn how to use this thing correctly, it is definitely an advantage, especially for that threat focusing concept. So guys, that is it. If you have any questions, obviously use that comment section below. I'm going to be doing more reviews on gun gear like this, so it might be a good time to subscribe. I want to say thanks to all involved who made this review possible: Juan, CHS Guns, City Guns, and Aziza. You guys have been absolutely great. Thanks to Sightmark who've let me review this without bias and said, listen, break it if you can break it, and if you break it, still review it. Who cares? Very impressed with what they have to offer and their confidence. That's it, guys. Have a good week. I'll see you guys soon. Cheers. God bless.